Regions of spinal cord. First, we will take up with the spinal cord. The spinal cord is the central part, central nervous part, or a part of CNS which is continuous with the brain. The hindbrain, the medulla is there, and which ends at C1 and C2 vertebra, and from there begins the spinal cord. Spinal cord is around 45 centimeters in length and about 1.25 centimeter in width. In the cervical part and lumbar part, there is thickening or the enlargement of the spinal cord, and from this area the fibers for upper limb or nerve fibers for upper limb and lower limb arises. This spinal cord is continuous from C1 and C2 vertebra up to the, and it ends up to the vertebra L1. At the L1 level, this spinal cord is attached to the sacrum and coccyx by the filum terminale or conus medullaris. Conus medullaris, that is the fibrous tissue. This spinal cord is covered by dura mater, arachnoid mater, and pia mater. Pia mater is the innermost layer which surrounds the spinal cord. The outermost is dura mater, and in between them is the subarachnoid space. Subarachnoid space is there which contains the cerebrospinal fluid, and it is that this spinal cord is suspended in that cerebrospinal fluid so that can absorb the shock. If you want to do the lumbar puncture as is done in anesthesia, or to get the sample of cerebrospinal fluid, the spinal cord actually ends at the L1 or L2 vertebra, and if you push the needle between L2 and 3 or L3 and L4, there is only cerebrospinal fluid there, so no nerve fibers are there, so there is no chance of damage. If you see the cross section of the spinal cord, you can see here the posterior median sulcus is there in the center, and then the posterior white column is there. On the lateral side, lateral white column or lateral funiculus is there. On the anterior side, anterior white column is there. Then you can see the H-shaped area. On both the sides, the vertical column of the grey matter is there, and that is joined together by the strip of the grey matter, and that forms the H-shaped matter, and that is the grey matter. This grey matter contains the nervous cells and fibers as well as blood vessels. The white matters in the anterior, lateral and funiculus mainly contains the nerve fibers, that is dendrites and the axons of the cells. So if you see the grey column also on the anterior side or ventral side, you can see the ventral grey column. On the lateral part, there is a small lateral horn cells, and on the posterior horn, you can see the posterior grey column. The anterior grey column is mainly the sensory part. The posterior anterior grey column is mainly the motor part. The posterior or dorsal horn cells in the grey matter in the spinal cord are mainly the chief sensory cells, and in the lateral horn, the cells communicate with the other cells and may give the signals to the viscera as well as to the sympathetic channel or parasympathetic channel. So this is the cross section of the spinal cord. You can see the spatial staining of the cross section here with the silver technique, and you can see the darker matter which is the grey column containing mainly the sensory and motor areas, the cells of these, and all other is lighter part is the white matter containing the fibers, that is the dendrons and the axons of the different cells. Then the motor functions of the spinal cord and cord reflexes. Sensory information is integrated in the spinal cord, brainstem, cerebrum, and motor signals are sent to the motor for motor contraction or for secretion of the glands. So all the sensory information is integrated, and that may go to the brain and the higher centers. Spinal cord act as conduit for all the sensory as well as motor signals. The special neuronal circuits for special purpose are present, such as to and fro movement of the legs is there, or to or fro movement of the arms along with the lower limbs movement is there. The brain commands the signals and gives the sequential direction to the cord, that is spinal cord, and that has the final action, such as in promoting the turning movement. Turning movement, lean the body forward during acceleration, change in movement from walking to jumping, and continuous monitoring of the movement, continuous control of equilibrium. All the circuits for these things are present in the spinal cord, but that requires the command. Command comes from cerebral cortex, and all these circuits are present in the spinal cord. When the command comes, the person can start from walking to jumping, or he can stop, or he can accelerate. So all the neuronal circuits which are required for these movements are present in the spinal cord, but the command comes from cerebral cortex, and the direct movement of the muscles is under the control of anterior horn cells of the spinal cord. Organization of the spinal cord for the motor function. The spinal cord, the gray matter is there, which is the integrative area for the cord reflexes and the other motor functions. The sensory signals comes through the posterior nerve root, and that comes to the gray matter, and then they can have the connection with the anterior horn cell for the segmental reflex, or some of the impulses can go to the higher centers. The sensory signals comes through the posterior nerve root. Some of them may have the connections with the gray matter in the same segment or slightly higher segment to give you the segmental reflex, but most of the signals can again go to the higher levels, of spinal cord, maybe to the brain stem or maybe to the cerebral cortex. Each segment of the spinal cord has several million neurons. The sensory neurons are there, motor neurons are there, and interneurons are there. So each segment of the spinal cord contains several million cells, sensory cells, motor cells, as well as interneurons are there. There is no anatomical demarcation of this spinal cord, but this is divided into cranial nerves, and then thoracic nerves, then thoracic part, then lumbar part, sacral part, and one is coccygeal part. So all these from each of the segment, each of the spinal nerve arises, and these contains the motor, sensory, as well as interneurons. First, the anterior gray column, which contains the anterior motor neurons. These are very much larger cells. Several thousands of the cells are present in the anterior horn or the ventral horn of the spinal cord. The nerve fibers from these arise, and they comes out through the anterior nerves, and these supply to the skeletal muscles of the body, maybe the upper limb or in the thorax or in the lower limb. These are called as alpha motor neurons. These alpha motor neurons are present in the anterior horn cell of spinal cord. The alpha motor neuron are large type A alpha cell, and they have a large nerve fibers. The nerve fibers are 9 to 20 micron in diameter, and they supply to the larger skeletal muscle. The nerve each of the motor unit, the single nerve cell can supply 3 to several hundred muscle fibers. In the extraocular muscle, in the pharyngeal muscle, in the laryngeal muscles. These each of the motor anterior motor cell or alpha motor neuron can supply 3 to around 10 or 12 muscle fibers in the pharyngeal muscle, laryngeal muscle and extraocular muscle. But in the skeletal muscle they can supply, each of the cell can supply to 100 or even 2000 of the muscle fibers. So each single anterior alpha motor neuron along with the nerve fibers which is supplying and the muscles which are supplied by this forms one unit, and that is called as motor unit. Then second type of the cells present in the anterior horn cell are gamma motor neuron. These cells are much smaller in cells and these are called as gamma motor neuron. These transfer the impulses to A gamma fibers in the intrafusal muscle fibers. These are having the diameter of 5 micron and these supply to the intrafusal fibers in the muscle spindles. The third type of the cells present are interneurons. The interneurons are present in very large number. They are 30 times more as compared to the neurons. These are present in the dorsal horn, anterior horn and intermediate horn. These are very small, highly excitable and they can give the spontaneous activity up to the level of 1500 action potentials per second. Many interconnections in the anterior horn cells are responsible for integrative functions of the spinal cord. So integrative functions of the spinal cord is mainly performed by the interconnections by the interneurons. The different types of the circuits are there. Diverging circuits are there, converging circuits are there, repeated discharge is there. All these are because of the interneurons. Then the sensory signals which may come to anterior horn cells directly or through the interneurons, these are appropriately processed so that they give the motor response in the same segment. But some of the signals can go from the sensory signals to the interneurons and that can go to the higher centers. And when the reflex at same segment is there, through the sensory signals directly going to anterior horn cells or through interneurons stimulating the anterior horn cell, then anterior horn cell will send the motor impulses so that the contraction of muscle function is performed. In the diagram you can see on the lowermost part anterior horn cells are there. These are anterior horn motor neurons. These cells does not produce impulse on their own, so they are not automatic, but these cells are excitatory cells which when receives impulses from the higher centers or from the sensory neurons, they can produce the motor impulses which are supplied through the anterior root, which is the motor root, then through the peripheral nerves to the muscles and the muscle contraction takes place. Along with this anterior horn cells, the smaller gamma motor neurons, along with these alpha motor neurons, smaller gamma motor neurons are present surrounding them. And you can see a little upwards, the interneurons are there. Interneurons communicate between the different sensory signals and the cortical signals, other higher center signals, and they are all communicated to the anterior horn cells. You can see the sensory signals coming from the sensory root, posterior root. These posterior sensory root again may directly synapse when the anterior horn cell to give you the reflex, or may synapse with the interneurons, so that interneurons will stimulate the anterior horn cells, or they may stimulate with the interneurons which will send these signals to the higher center such as spinal cord and the brain. In the side you can see the corticospinal tract which is coming upwards from the brain. This also sends the volitional and reflex signals to the interneurons, and then interneurons again give signals to the anterior horn cells in the anterior motor part, and these can give the contraction of the muscles or secretion through the gland. So the motor neurons in the spinal cord are the ultimate structures which receive signals from the sensory signals from the higher centers, from the subcenters, from the cerebellum, and all these signals converge to these anterior horn cells. Then this anterior horn cell will decide what is to be done, whether it is inhibited or the excitatory signals are to be passed on. When excitatory signals pass on, they will pass through the anterior root, that is the motor root, and then through the peripheral nerves to the skeletal muscles or to the glands, so that the contraction of the skeletal muscle takes place or the secretion of the glands takes place. The another type of cell present in the anterior gray column are Renshaw cell, that is inhibitory system, the Renshaw cell inhibitory system. These are the small motor neurons which are present around the alpha motor neurons. Whenever the signals are coming from alpha motor neuron from anterior horn cells, these will have the axons of anterior motor cell or anterior horn cell gives the small branches, and these small branches of axon will communicate or synapse with the Renshaw cell, and this Renshaw cell will send the inhibitory signals to the nearby motor cells. Renshaw cell receiving impulses from the anterior horn cells gives the inhibitory signals to the nearby motor cells, so that the nearby motor cells are inhibited, so that the motor in the motor system lateral inhibition system is there, and this lateral inhibition system will sharpen the signals which are going from the anterior horn cells or alpha motor neurons. This also suppresses the spread of the impulse to the adjacent neuron. So alpha motor neurons which when give signals, the branch of these axon will communicate with the Renshaw cell. Renshaw cell will cause the inhibition of the same motor neuron as well as the inhibition of the nearby lateral motor neurons, so as to cause the sharpening of the signals and prevent or suppress the spread of the impulse to the adjacent neurons. The multi-segmental connection in the spinal cord is there, and that is propriospinal fibers are there. They also coordinate simultaneous movement of the forelimbs and hind limbs. This is again through the interneurons. Then you can see in the dorsal horn or the posterior gray column, the neurons are present which performs mainly the sensory function. The different groups are, first one is substantia gelatinosa of Rolando. These carry the pain sensation and primary pain sensation and the thermal sensation. Then nucleus proprius is there, the ascending tracts for the sensory signals, second order neuron start from here and they form the ascending tracts. Then dorsal nucleus is there, which is also called as Clark column in the cervical segment C8 to L2, and that is responsible for the proprioceptive touch and pressure sensation. The ascending tracts arise from here that go to the cerebellum. So the proprioceptive and touch and pressure sensation, these arise from this Clark column. These are the second order neurons. The axon from this will go to the cerebral cortex and these will send the unconscious proprioceptive sensation to the cerebellar cortex. Then just inside the substantia gelatinosa, a small post-marginal nucleus is there. So substantia gelatinosa, post-marginal nucleus, nucleus proprius, and dorsal nucleus, that is the Clark's column, is there in the sensory part. So these are the sensory cells present in the posterior horn cells or posterior gray column or dorsal gray column. You can see here the blue colored cells are there, or blue colored areas are there which contains the sensory cell. The outermost you can see the substantia gelatinosa, then marginal nucleus is there, then nucleus proprius is there, and the dorsal nucleus is there. So these are the sensory areas from which the second order neuron arises. The first order neuron is present in the posterior horn cells, which carries impulses from periphery through the dendrons, and the posterior horn cell axons communicate with these sensory areas. And the second order neuron arises from here and goes to the thalamus and then to the cerebral cortex sensory area. Some of the signals from here will go directly to the cerebellum for the unconscious kinesthetic sense. So these blue areas are sensory areas. In the lateral column you can see entoromediolateral nucleus is there. This is mainly in the lateral gray column, and the impulses from here go mainly to the viscera and to the sympathetic trunk also. On the anterior side you can see the anterior or motor neurons, anterior horn cells, alpha motor neurons and gamma motor neurons are there. So if you see the cross section, on the anterior part or ventral part the motor neurons are there. On the posterior part or dorsal part the sensory neurons are there. In the dorsal nucleus is there in the center, and in the center you can see the central canal which again contains the cerebrospinal fluid. This is again the cross section of the spinal cord showing the different ascending and descending tracts. You can see the fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus in the yellow color on the dorsal side. These are dorsal column tract, and then you can see the dorsal and ventral spinocerebellar tract carrying the sensation to the cerebellar cortex, that is unconscious kinesthetic sensation. And then you can see on the ventral side ventral spinothalamic tract in the anterior funiculus and lateral spinothalamic tract in the lateral funiculus. They carry the sensation to the thalamus, and the third order neuron from thalamus carries it to the cerebral cortex. So these are the ascending tracts. On the opposite side you can see the descending tracts are there. Lateral corticospinal tract you can see the light violet color, and then ventral corticospinal tract yellowish color on the ventral side. These bring out the pyramidal tract. Pyramidal tract crossed fibers come through the lateral corticospinal tract. 80% of the fibers are crossed. 20% uncrossed fibers come through the ventral corticospinal tract in the anterior funiculus. Others you can see are again the descending tracts, that is rubrospinal tract from the red nucleus to the spinal cord, olivospinal tract from the olivary nucleus of the medulla to the spinal cord, tectospinal tract from the tectum of the midbrain, from the tectum of the midbrain to the spinal cord, and then you can see the vestibulospinal tract in the very front on the dorsal side, ventral side, and that vestibulospinal tract brings fibers from the vestibular nucleus to the spinal cord, and this vestibular nucleus get the fibers from the cerebellum, so that can control the posture and tone of the muscle. I will repeat the functions of the spinal cord again. The anterior gray column contains large multipolar cells, anterior horn cells, that supplies to the skeletal muscles, that is extrafusal fibers. Then again there are small oval cells. Small oval cells, these are gamma motor neuron, which supplies to the neuromuscular spindles, that is intrafusal muscle fibers. Then spinal cord is the main thoroughfare for all the incoming sensory impulses and all the outgoing motor impulses from higher centers to the periphery. Spinal cord is the main center for the reflex activity. Spinal cord exerts many interconnections through the anterior horn cells, through the interneurons, and the anterior horn cell is responsible for the integrative function of the spinal cord. So anterior horn cell have multiple connections with the sensations, with the pyramidal tracts, with the extrapyramidal tract. So many interconnections are there, and ultimately the anterior horn cell is responsible for integrative function of the spinal cord. What happens if you remove the spinal cord? In the smaller animals, if you even cut the spinal cord, The animal can stand, he can walk, he can hop. The paw reflex is there and extensor muscle support is there, so the animal can stand, walk and hop. If these animals are hung with the string, they can touch their feet to the ground. If the flea is crawling over the surface of their abdomen, they can move the paw to and fro to localize that area where the flea is crawling and that scratch them. Emptying of urinary bladder as well as rectum is also possible even without this spinal cord. The thermal reflexes. Each segment of the spinal cord, cooling will cause vasoconstriction, warming will cause vasodilatation. So even without the spinal cord or removal of the brain with the spinal cord, these functions can be performed in the animals, in the lower animals. But what happens in the human beings or in the higher animals, that will be taken in the next lecture, that is the lesions of the spinal cord.